I do have a favorite song on the album, and there's 10 of them. I love them all. So I was dead set on this song being evoking not only the relationship stuff, but also the passage of time, because that's, you know, when you get some years under your belt and you get some experience under your belt and you're a little further down the road, the passage of time is a teacher. So perspective comes into view a little more clearly. Your own choices, how your own choices may have played into the outcomes, you know. So that's what I wanted. I wanted all of those elements in this song, not just the lyric, not just the heart-tugging melody and the beautiful changes but I wanted time. I wanted the passage of time represented. My name is Eddie Martin, and I'm a writer. By definition, creative writing is an artistic endeavor. So by default, as much as anything else, I am also an artist. From around my 20th year of earthly life until now, my primary form of creative expression has taken root in the process of songwriting. It seems my psyche is continuously working on some level. Each experience or sensation, great or small, becomes food for thought, potentially serving as inspiration or a means of explanation for something to be sorted out, commented upon, written about. Sometimes, songs show up spontaneously, fully intact. Other times they flow out gently like warm honey. Then there are the ones which reveal themselves over time, line by line, note by note, forming the musically lyrical moments which awaken some greater understanding somewhere within my soul. Not all of them are great or even semi-serious in nature, but I do love every one of them. For a period of time, I struggled with the concept that my energies were wasted in the writing of anything other than important songs. Ultimately, I realized that, after all, architects design parking decks and fast food joints as well as beautiful cathedrals. Now, I am comfortable in knowing that one song bleeds into the next, each serving its own purpose. My art does not dictate what subject or expression is worthy. However, my craft does require that each song is constructed well enough to stand on its own. My childhood was all about singing. It surrounded me and meant the world to me. It still does. Any situation was reason enough to sing, but family road trips were tops. There was always harmony in the front seat. My sister and I could count on pretty much the same playlist coming from our parents. It was probably my teenage years before I realized that In the Pines and Temptation were not originally performed as a medley. Our parents' singing not only helped pass the time, it was also actually fun to hear. The sound they made together was comforting. Although we would sometimes make a feeble attempt to join in, my sister and I never quite achieved that special combination of voice and mutually joyful, expressed emotion that Mama and Daddy had in spades. I soaked it all up and stored it away for future use. I was learning.
Well, from the beginning of this project, I was asked by Eddie to engineer at WoodaWorx, which is Kelvin Wooten's studio, so that he could just focus on letting Kelvin play keyboards. And we spent 2 days there in Athens, and we went to Mount Olive to Chris Fryar's studio, who plays drums for Zach Brown Band, and he put all of the percussion on there. And I remember the conversations in the car on the way down to Mount Olive, which is north of Birmingham, Alabama, that we were just like, well, I wonder what all he'll do. And he may put a little tambourine and some shaker here and there, and I know there was a couple songs that Eddie was adamant that he wanted some congas on to be a little reminiscent of Al Green and Marvin Gaye. That was one of the conversations that we had, was that he wanted to go back to a little bit of the what's going on and all of that kind of era of Marvin Gaye, which was incredible music, obviously, and timeless. So he wanted to approach the record to come out at when it was all said and done, to be something timeless as well as something new and fresh.
Oh brother, I've done it wrong. So many times I stop counting, stone after stone. I keep pushing up that mountain, higher each day, finding my way, keeping the blues at bay. And I travel alone, memory in my rearview mirror, rolling along, destination getting clearer, calming the way. I'll see on days, keeping the blues at bay. In every change of weather, memories reconcile. Some are things I really should forget. Keep my head together for a little while. I may even end up better yet.
Eddie is a person that you cannot put in a box. He's an artist in the true sense of the word. And I'm the same way. I don't like to be put in a box. We all do what we do well, but he is very eclectic as a writer, as a producer, as a singer, and he's just that way as a person, not just as an artist. He embodies being an artist. He's not like, oh, I'm going to go to the studio, or I'm going to go write today, or I'm going to go on stage. No, he is Eddie Martin. That's who he is. And what I love about him is he's not afraid to try something new. He's not afraid to walk out on a limb, even if the limb breaks, and go back and say, well, that hurt. That wasn't a good idea.
I probably say just the camaraderie of, who he chooses to have for his sessions. That's always key in any session.
Yep.
As a producer, I'm not, I kind of default to let Eddie do his thing and not produce so hard on his stuff because he kind of knows what he wants to do. But it's just a camaraderie, man, with the musicians. Me and him, we've been together for a long time. The drummers that's been on it. Everybody just really gels well together. And the thing is, everybody has different backgrounds and really different strengths too. And multicultural, multi-diverse is really, really cool to see all of that come together. It's always amazing.
Oh yeah. And what you said, him being a major producer, right? Well, Eddie's the same way. Eddie has the common sense because we all come from different. We all got different strengths, so to speak. Certain things, when you get to a certain style, everybody probably looks to me. We get to this style, we all look at Bob. Mm-hmm. We get to a such and such style, we start looking at him. Yes. And everybody knows to just look to that cat, let him drive. Everybody else rides for a second. Mm-hmm. Nobody trips, It's like, man, we went to a second line thing. He's a tuba player, right? And I'm like, I'm like, okay, well, let's follow his vibe. Wherever he leads, it's on, Yeah. And what, Pope on drums?
Yeah, Mark's on
and
drums.
And Pope says, I got it as soon. He said, I'm gonna follow Wooten.
Yeah.
So, well, he's good with that. So he gets a bunch of chiefs that don't mind following.
Exactly.
Just that simple.
Yeah.
Because we only had 2 days to get the basic tracks for 10 songs, we stayed focused on the songs themselves, and the vibe never left the room. And I think that those 2 days encapsulated what the rest of this record became, because we were building on that the whole time. I mean, you know, the old saying is you can't really build a house without a foundation. I mean, we had these guys playing the most amazing performances you could imagine. And I keep going back to what Bob Ray said about this is how records are supposed to be made. This is the vibe in the room. It's all about catching that. What's your favorite song in terms of production? Dagger, hands down, without a doubt. That is just clever. The strings are amazing. Eddie's vocal, he knocked it in the cheap seats. It's fantastic. I mean, that production blows my mind.
Oh. Well, as I've alluded to, there's usually one song that's like, do something with me, you know. And it usually resonates with, not that it's just, oh, I'm just the best song you've ever written, but there's something about it. And it doesn't always end up being the title track, but it's always like a key track, you know, or the opener. And the song for this that kind of made me start thinking, dadgummit, I'm going to have to do another album, was Dagger, the title track. It just kicked my butt in every way as a writer, and I just could not stop imagining producing it.
You think you know how the song's going, but there's always going to be that extra bar or that half a bar that ain't there. And that's the key. That's what makes it magic. You think only a musician will understand this, but there's always that one extra bar. There's the hiccup, the surprise, and you can't just assume anything. There's always going to be that very interesting quality about every song.
Everything springs out of me as a songwriter, but I also have a very, very strong drive to produce. And by that, I mean fully realize what I hear in my head on a song. And I could not stop thinking about just the potential.
Well, all right, so Eddie writes what he writes, you know, he's gifted in that regard, and not all of us are quite so fortunate to be able to do that and do it well. And it's a challenge when you're recording the music, because you know, any good musician that's laying down tracks, they're gonna want to be a slave to the song. So that means you play what the song calls for. And so if you're playing like a New Orleans groove, you may be, you know, you settle into that and you really get that happening. And then the next tune is like, let's say a gospel waltz, you know, and it's two totally different feels, you know, and so you have to change gears if you're going from, you know, song to song to song. And it can be very, very challenging. And it's one of the reasons why I love working with Eddie so much.
We've been all over the place.
All over
We
the
have
place.
literally been from hither and yon.
Yes, sir.
Minneapolis to back to Muscle Shoals.
To blues, all the way down to blues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even it's gospel. What else did we cover? Something else.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. We second line, and we went there hard.
We went there hard, yeah. Wherever we've been visiting, we stayed a couple days.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the funk just got heavy down there, right?
Yeah, just around song 8, yeah.
Yes.
Sound like we just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
Let the dancing begin.
Didn't see I had a problem with the direction of my life. Looking for a special someone. It was always never quite right. I wandered out into the darkness. It was a common thing for me. Hasn't been so long ago that my best friend was insecurity. There's been a change that's come over me. It's a change everyone can see. And when they ask what's made me this way, I'm gonna make sure that they can hear me say that you are the one. You're coming through like the morning sun. Baby, you are the one for me. Shining bright, baby, you are. Didn't know that I was searching. I didn't know for something that I had not found. No, didn't know just what I did not have, baby. Until you came and turned my life around. Help me see what I can be. Now that I have you, I feel the need. Let you know now that you are mine. Well, it makes the bad time seem worthwhile. 'Cause you are the one
Somebody do it, Bob.
Yeah.
Somebody do it at 72, Bob.
Right.
71, it might change when it hits 72.
I just say listen to the record. It's music. It's whatever you need it to be, whatever you want it to be. Of course we do have genres, but my personal philosophy is I don't like to draw hard and fast lines. And Eddie is a person who he breaks those boundaries and he blurs those lines between genres. He definitely has a little bit of the Muscle Shoals flair, but he's outside of that box a little bit where he's got more of a contemporary R&B flair. He's got some jazz, some of it's just some straight up rock and roll and funk kind of stuff, but it's leaning more toward a contemporary R&B kind of feel. But what I love about the record is although there are so many elements of different styles and genres, there's a cohesion that exists. That if I were to, say, do a record that has a soul song on it, and another one that has a funk song, and another one that has a gospel song, and it has a jazz song, a lot of times that wouldn't make sense, it wouldn't connect. But his voice has something about it that is tangible, that he is able to connect those, and in such a way that it all makes sense together as a singular product, as well as individual songs. And that takes a special gift. Not just anybody can do that. And I really feel that this record is one of the few that does that, and does that well.
I think this is my third album with Eddie. I've worked with him on some other projects years ago, but I think this is the third one. And you never know what to expect. We've done Latin feeling stuff, kind of funky stuff, ballady. This is a pretty standard groove we've got going in there right now. So that's the fun of it. And that's what keeps me interested in studio work. I've been playing for 49, almost 50 years professionally. And the element of surprise is what fuels us all.
Yeah.
And you get the right group of guys, and you put it together. It's amazing, and we're all gifted. And that's all I can tell you. We don't sit and rehearse this stuff at home. The next song, none of us have ever heard.
Right. Eddie's stuff allows you to be creative, and that's what I love about playing with his projects. I think this is the second or third one I did. I can't remember, but it just allows us to be creative. And when you go into a session and you can be creative, man, it's so much easier than for somebody to tell you how to play. I hate when somebody say, I want it just like this, and you can't do nothing else but this. It makes the session long. But when they say, hey, we want your creative thoughts, your creative mind, but let's just go by this roadmap, it's a whole lot easier to get the project done. So I love working with Eddie. It's great.
Conversations Eddie and I had before ever pushing record, before ever actually starting the project. We came here to my studio and he said, I want to make this record for me. He said, I don't want to really focus too much on song length. I want to make the record and the songs the way I want to make them. And he totally ignored the climate of the music industry. And I think that is what allowed this great piece of art to exist as it does. Because had any of us focused too much on what's going on in the world and what's going on in the music industry right now, and you can get all into the debates on streaming and the state of the industry and everything, whether people are buying music or not, but the point is we focused on the music, we focused on the songs, we focused on the art itself and creating the best record we could possibly conjure up between us.
I quit I quit a long time ago trying to put things into specific categories. There's that music which moves me and that music which does not. And the same thing goes for all forms of art for me. And it can change. Consistently though, Eddie's music moves me and is always fun to record. And so if someone were to ask me, well, what kind of music did you record? I would just say, it was a lot of fun. You should listen to it. I wouldn't want to give them any preconceived notions, because sometimes that can be misleading. So what I hear is jazzy may not be jazzy to somebody else. So I would just tell them it was fun to record and you should check it out.
You know, I'm a songwriter, and the songs are king, and if it feels like I'm sitting here, I'm a weirdo in this town. My biggest commercial success is a jazz song, you know, straight up jazz. And so I just don't corral myself as a writer. The songs lead where they lead, they speak to me as they speak to me, and then I just try to honor their energy as I produce or bring them into the world. So it's a very eclectic album. I'm a very eclectic writer. I'm a very eclectic performer. I'm just an eclectic guy, you know. Well, Grant is, other than myself, Grant is the only person that has been there for every note that has been played or sung on every track. So it just felt sort of natural that he become part of the collaborative process on this project. It's been really wonderful to have his studio less than 2 miles from my house. You know, that is such a great blessing that we have here living in the Muscle Shoals, the greater Muscle Shoals-area. I actually live in Sheffield, and Grant's studio, HearTell, is inside Cypress Moon Studios, which is the former home of Muscle Shoals Sound, historic studio. So having all of that less than 2 miles from where I live, as we finished the tracking at WoodaWorx, and then we did the percussion overdubs at Chris Fryar's studio just north of Birmingham, and then we brought everything back here to Grant's. You know, it's like, yeah, I got a studio in my backyard, you know, because when he's available and I'm available and our calendars mesh or whatever, I can just bop down here. It takes me 5 minutes to get here, you know? And I come in and it's like home now, and people come in, you know, they bring their guitar or whatever it is, and they're gonna guest on something, and they, you know, it's just great. And it's a creative, collaborative space, which is all I ever want out of project studios, whether they're big, small, whatever. Kelvin Wooten, wow. Music, just every fiber of his body is music, and he's so creative. Norris Jones is an incredible guitarist, but ultimately epitomizes cool. Bob Ray brings a level of professionalism to the surroundings, but yet he is just the groove master. Marcus Pope plays the drums like a ballet dancer dances. The guy is sneaky wicked on the drums. Brandon Pear has got this incredible positive energy that is very assertive yet tasteful at the same time as a drummer. Chris Fryar is an old friend of mine who has graced numerous recordings of mine through the years. He is just willing to just go there, but he listens to the songs, which is amazing. He's a great drummer in and of himself, and a really great percussionist. Malcolm Singleton is, in so many ways, my creative blood brother. We've been making music together now for 15 years or so, and he is just this wellspring of creativity. Tony Lee is such a bedrock friend, and the way he plays guitar and writes songs is so soulful. Oh wow, Barry Billings is literally the unsung guitar hero of Muscle Shoals. So many people have been inspired by Barry. He's so encouraging, and he's wicked on guitar. Kelvin Hawley is, he's a sly devil. You know, you never know what he's gonna pull out. And you think he's just grooving along, and then he just blows your mind. Will McFarland, this was my first experience of actually working with Will, being in awe of Will for years. And it was such a wonderful experience. It was everything I hoped it would be, and he is just such a tasteful, phenomenal player, and his knowledge of theory and everything is great. Scott Todd is sort of a surprise guest on the album. We had recently worked together, and he just inspired me with what he brought, so I just, because of the timing of everything, I just wanted to have him present on this project, and he more than delivered. Wow. Clayton Ivey, I'm not going to say how many years it's been, but it has been a secret desire of mine to record with Clayton since I was 20 years old. So to have him show up and play piano on 2 songs and organ on a 3rd is pretty special. Angela Hacker I have known since she was about 15 years old, and I have just always been her fan and in her camp, just rooting for her in all regards, and so I was so happy to get her on this project, and she just blew everybody away. The Shoals sisters, oh my gosh, you just say that, and people who know, you don't have to say much of anything else. But for the people who may not know, these women have sung, recorded, sung live with, they're just the background singers of background singers in my book. They can bring it from quiet and soft to just afterburners. So it's so exciting to have them on here. Kristen Goss, well, she just so happens to be my cousin, but she is a young female talent, and I was able, while she was in town for a few days, I was able to get her in to do this. Basically, she sings a part that is haunting the singer's mind. So, and she came in one night, we had a blast, and it was great. I think the most important thing I could say, it does have something to do with me, maybe about me, but it's a bigger statement, because I think music is so incredibly important. I think the majority of people think music is important. Now, that being said, the biggest thing that needs to be recalibrated is that music doesn't just it does just happen. Songs do. It doesn't cost anything to write a song, money-wise. It doesn't cost a dime to write a song, but it costs money to produce recordings. It costs money to release recordings. There is financial expense involved in the creation of original music. And if people do not get back to supporting that and finding a way that is fair to the creators, it's going to be lost. I knew in my heart that this project was on path to be something really special, and it has been. We've completed all recording, and there's not been one hiccup. There's not been one tough session. There's not been one disagreement. There's not been one instance of an inability to communicate to a player. It's just been the most creatively satisfying project of my entire life. And I might say that about every project when but this one, there's really something special about it. I think, you know.
I'm sorry. Sleeping. Nobody. You are one. I love you. Baby, ain't no blues. Would it be right? When I'm with you, I wanna tell you what I wish I had the nerve to say. But something in my mind holds me back, then I can feel my courage slipping away. I don't know why my words are hard to find. We are two of a kind. The next step leads us into love. We be satisfied.